And we're live.
All right.
Welcome to you, the viewer, and our fantastic panel here beside me. It's the After Dram, and that means it is time to unwind. So put your feet up, grab a dram. I need a dram. There's the dram, or a cocktail, or two, or a combination like we have, and relax, just like we are. As a quick recap to our early afternoon, Cheryl, Dave, Kent, Nick, and I have done a deep dive into 3 chapters from Whisky Japan. This book right here, The Essential Guide to the World's Most Exotic Whiskey. That book right there. It was informative, it was entertaining, and the fun's just begun. So we're going to do another round of introductions. I got to say, Dom's off to the side. He's relaxing. He's having a little bite to eat. He's going to come on later. And we're going to start our After Dram ourselves, which is great because we just like to talk and drink and talk. Let's go around. We'll do alphabetically again. But Cheryl and Kent will do both of you at the same time. It makes no sense going back and forth. You're up.
Hi, my name is Cheryl. I go by Cheryl's_1 on pretty much any social media. So Kent and I have sort of traded it up this time, but I'm starting out with the little dram of Nika from the barrel.
Nice. Yummy. And Kent, what is your cocktail?
And I went to my cocktail, and we did it with the Centauri Toki. And it's basically, it's got some espresso in it and a little bit of simple syrup and just a nice, quick, easy cocktail. Quite delicious with the coffee in it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. And over to Dave.
Hey guys, it's Yukon Dave coming from the basement as always. I'm drinking the same thing, the Hibiki Harmony that I got for a Christmas gift in 2019. This is the end of it, and I actually enjoy it a lot more now than I did when I first got it. I think maybe I'm getting smarter. I just losing my taste. I don't know.
All of the above.
Hold it. And I have a cocktail.
Ooh, tell us about the cocktail.
All right. Well, this is a what the hell is it? It's orange juice, 1.5 ounces of bourbon, still Austin straight bourbon, and an ounce and a half of Hibiki Harmony. And when I looked in my fridge and I looked in my cupboards, it was either this or it was broccoli, so I chose this.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I am still hanging out with my Yamazaki 18 and I am nursing this because it is fantastic, but I do have a cocktail to join it. It is a traditional highball made with shinobu.
Nice. All right, and I have to read mine because I'm not very good with cocktails, but here it is. It looks half decent. It's good.
Yeah.
And they set the large ice cube in there instead of the small ones. It's on page 237. It's called Après Ski in Fiji by Union Square, New York. So that's who did it. It's 1 3/4 ounces of this right here because this is my blending whiskey, Japanese blending whiskey. Because I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to explain why I'm using it. I am because it's not very good. No, done. 1 ounce of sweet vermouth and dashes of Saint Germain. I had all that. 1 lemon, and it said maraschino cherries, but I have bad luck with maraschino cherries. You've seen that? It turns everything really red. So I didn't use maraschino cherries for this. So that's my drink. And on top of that, I also have Nika from the barrel, but I drained mine. This is done. I still have another one up there. You can't really see it, but I've got one in the reserves. This will not be with the new rules. This will not. They'll have to change the label, I think. And I was trying to get at that with Dom earlier. Will they have to change the labels? If they do have to change the labels, they're going to have to because Nika whiskey from the barrel. It's not. It's a blend, double matured blended whiskey, but it's not theirs. This is a lot of Scotch whiskey in that one. And what are you showing me? Pure malt?
Pure malt. I think that reading some of the announcements coming out of Japan, that whole use of pure malt is one of those nebulous terms as well that may have to change.
It's not for us. When we see pure malt, we know what that means in our term for Scotch. We do.
Yeah.
But it's not for them, and it means something else. So we're going to see. It's going to be really interesting, kind of get a grasp on what's going to come out. And we have a whiskey taste, not a whiskey. We've got a Japanese whiskey tasting in 3 weeks. And it's going to be interesting when we talk to them directly, because our last tasting with the same group was before the regulations change. And now after the regulations change, I want to see what they have to say to us. And I've already kind of prepped Zoe, who is not the brand ambassador, but the person in charge of bringing it into Canada. I prepped her, and she said, we're good. It's like, all right, good. Fantastic. So we're going back to the book. And we're going to talk about a couple of the different anyone remember what chapter? Was it chapter 7?
Chapter 7.
Talked about bars.
So we decided while we're doing the After Dram, we're going to have a cocktail, and which is chapter 9, I think, cocktails and the pairing of food. So I didn't pair the food, but the cocktail I thought was good. We're doing bars around the world. And I asked our panel members to highlight the place that, for whatever reason, that bar spoke to them. So I'll go last, and we've all made sure that there's no repetition, so we're all good. And let's go counterclockwise. So let's go with Nick, and then I'm going to do Dave, and then Kent and Cheryl. I don't know if you have one each or both one. We'll figure that out when I get to you. So Nick, you're starting us off.
So the bar I chose was on page 199, and it's the Dr. Jekyll's Pub. And the reason this one appealed to me is it sounded like the most down to earth, the least fussy. Because a lot of these other ones, like some of them, I know the restaurants that they're associated with, and they're world renowned. And I guess I'm also too at the point in my journey where I just want to go enjoy a whiskey. I don't want all that extra trappings.
Okay.
That some of these other places are providing. That's not where I'm at, and that's not what I'm enjoying. I want the golden liquid in my glass. I want to sit there and maybe ask questions of the bartender or the individual who's pouring me that, and let them tell me the story and let me be happy. That's all I want. It's simple and
someone knowledgeable, and you want a big selection, and you want to be left alone.
Pretty much. And that appealed to me, that whole Dr. Jekyll. Like, Jekyll, Hyde. Yeah, it works for me.
Good. That's perfect. I like it. Dave.
All right.
And Dave did a little bit of extra research on this too, which is kind of cool. Dave's like right into this research thing. He's there.
Kind of unusual. So I looked at that Dr. Jekyll one also, but when I went to the website, I couldn't get it to translate into English, so I just moved on. But like Nick said, this one actually spoke to me because I felt really uncomfortable just looking at a bunch of those ones in New York. I just wouldn't settle in very well. One of the lines in here, it said, the bar's on a smelly side street. I thought, oh, that's perfect. Like, that's exactly right. And then they said it looked like an Australian drinking warehouse. Well,
also appealing.
I want to see one of those. So what I did was I went to another one, but they had a beautiful website, but I couldn't click on anything. So I left that one. And I went to 214, and I'm looking at this one from Warsaw, Dom.
Okay.
And they've got 3 different locations. I wonder
why Dom picked that one.
Yeah.
That's perfect. But I'd love to get into Poland and that area because I'd love to try the beer over there and have a whiskey bar with 1,700 bottles. Yeah, I'd like to go there.
Yeah.
Me too.
So that was my pick, was the one from Poland, from Warsaw.
All right. Good job. Kent, Cheryl, Kent, both together or apart?
Yeah.
Both together.
We actually, I picked Hong Kong because we've been to Hong Kong and absolutely loved the area. We want to go back because we just didn't have enough time, which just seems like most of the places we visit, we never have enough time. But the Club
Queen,
Q-I-N-G.
page 222 in the book.
Yep. One of the things that really caught our eye is that he's got some like amazing whiskey collections, including
The playing card.
the playing card one.
54 bottles.
In the playing card series, of which there's only one in Hong Kong, and how many was
Only 6 sets exist on the planet.
that's like a rare collection of whiskey.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
if you were able to go and test something like that,
And the thing that I kind of liked about it is that they just kind of serve some sort of snacky type foods, not a lot. They don't believe in whiskey and food pairings, nor do they encourage their customers to eat while drinking, because they're saying that's going to destroy your palate and it's a waste of whiskey.
Oh, nice.
Which is kind of cute.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to pose that, I think, and not with the place I'm going to go, just because I want to go to the vaults at SMWS. And I'm told the food is fantastic at the SMWS vaults, and the whiskey is really cheap, especially compared to what we pay for the SMWS bottles here. So I want to compare the food and whiskey. I want to have 4 courses and then give me a course for the entree, the dessert, for everything. I want. All right. So of the 22 bars from around the world, I picked the Flatrian Room, page 192 from New York City.
Okay.
Now, I need to go back to New York City for one. I was there. I wasn't there long enough. We didn't get to see nearly what we wanted to see. And there's 3 bars here from New York City, but this is the one that piqued my interest. So if you look on page 192, and I'll show you guys, it's a
gorgeous bar.
It is. It's gorgeous, and it's also in a, I don't know what they call it, a style, the style of the room. It's like a,
well, it's got a very 1940s feel to it.
Yes, and all the wood, and it's beautiful. It's just it looks like what I think a whiskey bar should look like, in as much as it's dark. It's got the bright woods. It's got several floors worth of whiskey. So if you look at it, it's got the main, and then you have to go to the top to see the other ones. I just love it. So it's beautiful. It's got a huge amount of whiskey. It's supposed to have a relaxed atmosphere, but it's also supposed to be luxurious hospitality. And I'm only a teacher, and but I like nice things. And I can't afford the nice things, but I still want to go there, and I'll have the semi-nice things and just kind of drool at the other ones. They also have live jazz music, which I thought is really cool. They do launches and promotions there, which I think is great, because the Alberta Scotch side is kind of my link. If we were there, I'd probably love to go to this place to do like our tastings if we ever could. And it's a whiskey school. And as a teacher, I had a link to this whiskey school thing. So wouldn't that be great? I would teach on the weekends, whiskey school. So math during the week. So French immersion math during the week. On the weekend, I'm teaching whiskey. I'd do that. I would love that. And then I'd bring in like all the extra teachers out there that we could do. And we've already had 2 authors from New York and New Jersey that could come in. I've got it planned out. If I move to New York, I'm doing the school where I have to convince them that I can do the school. And I'll just spend my day sipping everything. They have 1,000 whiskeys, not as much as the one that Dave was talking about, but 1,000 is pretty good.
So why don't you get a course, the math of whiskey?
The math of whiskey. And you know what? I thought about this, and a friend of mine, Chad, who's a beer guy. He's the guy that got me into making beer, and then making spirits. Although we never made spirits, but thinking about how you would make spirits behind it. So to actually teach math in high school, and let's say it would be a course for those that are not really math centric. It's a hands-on type of thing. How would you change the math? Like we would think about the hops, and we would think about how strong these hops are compared to how much the recipe needs, and how you would change the hop amount, how much water you would have. And my thermonuclear penguin beer that I'm making now, how to figure out the new percentage of alcohol if you take away this amount of ice from it. There's a lot of math involved in brewing, and the potential of distilling, who nobody here does.
No,
none of us. But there's a lot of math there that would be fantastic. So
an interesting question then, Dolph. So, and I think ties right back to the book is, why New York when maybe Japan is the place to go to figure this out and to understand it? talking to Lee and his trips and his explanations of his distillery visits, he says it's just phenomenal going in because of the science that's implemented, the math, the chemistry, and it's such an incredible art form that they've converted it to. So they've taken that beautiful, for lack, a square of here's how we produce Scotch whiskey, and they've refined it. They've made it smooth, elegant. So it's this gorgeous sphere, and you go, wow. Like, to me, this is what this book was sort of opening up that concept, and listening to Lee talk is like, you need to go there just to understand how that knowledge of 100 years has been taken, and it maybe perfection's not the right word, but it's been refined, exemplified, focused to such an interesting level.
Do you think he has a guide when he goes there? Because I'm used to traveling and knowing, being both English and French. You go through Europe, you can get along just anywhere in Europe with either English or French. I can't. But it would be really hard for me. I don't know what this would feel like, going to a country where the language is so different. It's not even like Spanish where I could still pick stuff up. That'd be really hard for me. And
Hong Kong was interesting. We luckily we were with the group that had, well, one of my good friends went to school with Beryl that lives in Hong Kong. Her boss gave her paid days off to tourists around Hong Kong.
Really?
Right? Oh, like we got into places that we would have never even guessed to look. Like literally, we walk into, she says, we'll take you to this famous restaurant. And we walk down, like, think of a creepy back alley that's just full of garbage, right?
And you're hole like, in the wall.
Yeah, we should be going in there. But yeah, take it, and then all of a sudden you walk through this door and it opens up into this 10-star restaurant. You know, right? You know, we walk in and it's like, yeah, she's the most famous place in
Am I gonna die in this alley?
And
no one will ever know where I was because I'm in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I get that.
Nothing was in English, so as an English speaking person, we would have been lost. We wouldn't have had a clue what anything said. So she would read the menus and she was ordering for us, and it was pretty cool.
And we got a picture of our bill. Like our bill was 10,000. Right?
10,000 yen or something.
Whatever.
10,000.
And you did the conversion?
Hong Kong.
Yeah, it was about 35 Canadian.
Oh, and I forgot to say, can't fix my math. 75 pounds is roughly 130. So it's less than double, not a bit more than double. So thank you very much. I just had the fact checkers in the background doing some stuff for our earlier thing.
So Lee, when he goes, he connects definitely with his buyers.
Yeah.
But he has also worked very hard to develop his own skill at the language so he could speak and order. And he said, like, some places you go in and he goes, doesn't matter how much I attempt, you just don't, you point, you nod. And sometimes you let him pour whatever he's going to pour and you enjoy the experience. So it's so different.
So just live in the moment's what you're telling me next.
Yeah, you know what? There's something to be said for that. It's maybe slowing it down and enjoying it for the essence that it is.
Yeah, and the artistic part of it, I can agree with. I think that'd be fantastic. And the mathematical, scientific part would be really good as well. And they take that to heart as well, more than they do in Scotland. Because in Scotland, it's more tradition. We've done it this way. Grandpa's done that. He taught me what to smell and what to look for, what to taste. And it's a beautiful essence, and I love that. However, the scientific stuff's really interesting to me as well. So I can drive to New York, and I can't drive to New York. Dave, how about you, buddy?
What was the question?
I don't know if there was one.
There wasn't one, I don't think.
What do you think of going to Japan instead of New York? There, how's that?
Well, Japan's so mysterious for me. I'd love to go, and anybody that I've talked to said everybody's so friendly there, and everybody's so nice, and I'd like to go because it's so different. I've been all over the U.S. and just same thing with different accents. Depends where you end up in the U.S. and going to Japan is just that's a different experience.
secure going anywhere in the States and knowing that if you got in trouble for something, you could get out. That's the whole thing about travel too, right? Are you going to go somewhere where you are at ease, or are you pushing the boundaries a bit, buddy?
Well, it's nice when I know the language and I understand the currency. So going to the States is easy, but I feel pretty secure thinking, well, yeah, I'd like to go to Japan. I don't think it's as dangerous as going to anywhere in the U.S.
You're probably right. And if you're Lee as well, Lee's a big boy. Lee's about 300 and some pounds too. And he's muscly. He's just a big guy. So he's feeling pretty secure most places where he is. I got to say, this cocktail is horrible. And it shouldn't be. Like, the stuff in it's great. Well, I got to try this again. I haven't tried that since I brought this back from Europe like 8 years ago or something like that. And I don't know, I'll try that. It might be the problem, or the problem might be I just don't know how to do this.
I'm going to tell you that this is the first cocktail I actually really enjoyed. And
yeah, that 6 ounces has gone down pretty quickly, but
yeah,
I was going to say mine was really delicious.
I'll have more of this.
Yeah, this is an easy drinker. I can understand why the highball was an easy segue to get people to drink whiskey in Japan, because you can suck a couple of these back and you're like, I'm not feeling that over alcohol haze. It's refreshing, it's easy, and it's enjoyable. You can sit there and chat at the bar or chat with people around you and you're just like, yeah, I'm good.
who told us about that recently? Was it Robin Robinson or was it Daniel Yaffe when he asked a waitress, whoever it was, what they would suggest, and she said highball?
Yeah.
Yaffe.
That was Daniel. Okay. So
See, one thing, reading this book on Japanese whiskey, I have to say what Japan and Japanese whiskey does way better than the rest of the world is the art on their bottles. It's stellar.
Yeah.
And stay there, and I'm going to show you some because I got 6 bottles today. Well, I got 12 bottles for our next tasting, and I was thinking exactly that, Nick. I'll bring some up.
Not to mention, we've been watching a bunch of videos from Japan as well on their cocktail making, and these are some top bartenders, of course, but the art in just making the cocktail, you don't even need to drink it. You just need to watch them make it. Like right now, they take this block of ice and they're chipping away at it.
Yes.
You got a flower.
And make a perfect spear. Perfect spear.
A diamond or a heart shape.
Yeah, they make it look.
Look how pretty this is.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's beautiful. And that's one.
Then you get this, which is it's gorgeous, but it's boring.
Yeah.
Well, and the stuff on the inside of that's fantastic. Yeah. And we've got this.
Those are awesome.
It's still very pretty. And this one's more plain.
It's going to grow up and
See it in the background.
Yeah. Nice. Wow.
Geez.
I don't know. I am really impressed with the artistic side of it.
Very
really
cool.
Cool. And the boxes are really nice as well. Like, they spend money on these things. Just really, really, really beautiful. So,
Dolph,
yep.
I need to talk to you offline about those boxes, by the way.
Done. You want them?
Yep.
Done. See? Very pretty. And Dave, when I was watching or looking through this book, I was thinking of you because you and I generally like the pictures more than other people, or we're the only ones that'll admit that we like the pictures a lot. This is a beautiful book. It's the first thing I said when we did it, but it's stunning. You look through it and it's like page after page of beautiful pictures.
I think it's my favorite. Like I just, if you're looking at pictures and
Robbins was great. Davin's was good for the old pictures for Canada as well. But they're stylistic. It's beautiful.
The pictures are elegant.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this coming from a photographer. He knows his stuff. I don't. I just know what's pretty. And these are pretty.
I know what I like.
Yeah.
The pictures here evoke a response. And I think that's something that Japanese whiskey looks at it as a whole experience. Like, it's about all those sensations being engaged and invoking a response, an emotion, a memory. You look at these pictures and you go, wow. I'm reading another whiskey book and I get diagrams that are in black and white and you're like, no, you don't get attached to it. Like, this you're like, that's incredible.
That picture,
McDonald's.
yeah, it reminds us of Hong Kong even. It's
All
not
right, I can bring us back to the book for a bit. Even though Dom's not here, I think you guys can answer this question. So I'm going to read it, the whole thing. In Scotland, there's an arrangement between whiskey producers to exchange spirits. And this goes to what Nick was saying and Dom before as well. So that each blender has the broadest possible choice. That simply doesn't happen in Japan. It's the nature of business there not to share with rivals. And we talked about that. So this may have limited them, but I want to know if you thought maybe it didn't, because we also read about how different distilleries now had to they'd have 14 different stills and different styles because they didn't have other people to draw on.
Yeah.
They are making different stills, and one distillery will have 14 beautiful, very different stills one from another, and they'll use different yeasts, just like the bourbons in the States, like Four Roses. They'll have like tons of different yeasts.
Yeah.
So do you think it's held them back, or did it do the opposite? I'm throwing that out there as I'm going to drink my horrible cocktail.
Well, it's not just that. It's even the configuration of the stills. They're line arms. They talk about line arms being at different angles, how far it is from the condenser, all of those things. The Scots, they've been all very chummy, and they share information, but there's something to be said about you're in a box and you got to think to be creative to get outside that box, and you got to do it on your own.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if you guys
so close to other people, do they influence each other too much too? That's another question. They're forcing. You're doing that? Kind of an idiot does that, and it makes you do something else. I'm wondering if that has an effect.
if you're working in a distillery that's got 12 different stills in it with different line arms and different configurations, you have such an opportunity to play within your own field and design something that's different than everybody else, right? And I would think that would give you a little bit more of a mastery overall than going into work basically and working on one still every day, making the same formula, talking about, mass productions. If I can say, hey, I can take some of this and mix some of that, blend out this, do that. It was like, oh, that's great. Or, or you have a cocktail like Dolph's that's horrible. Okay, let's not do that again, right?
But I still drank it. I make it, I'm drinking it.
But do you think that go back 30, 40 years ago, you could make the same whiskey and not have to worry too much? Now, you better have a whole bunch of offerings out there because the industry's changed and the customers expect so much more.
Yeah.
You can't just put out one whiskey.
Different bottle too, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, this is the one that was not good when I had it way back when, and the one I put it in here. Dave, I agree. And I don't know what else to say. I think it's good that they were isolated and they didn't help each other, but I think it's bad that they didn't help each other, because I'd like, in the beer industry right now, in the craft beer industry anyways, where we are, where you hear of one brewery helping the other, I really like that feeling. And let's give the example. I went to Calgary with Laura, and we went from one brewery to the next. We got tour after tour after tour, and we were at one, I think it was Bandy Creek. No, it was the one with the octopus. Which one had the octopus? Anyway, the brewers from the octopus one, we saw them at the next one because their shift ended at 4 and they took off and they went to another brewery. Like, they're having fun with each other. And I love that essence, but I don't think it helps creativity. I think the Japanese are more creative in what they do.
I think you need to kind of quantify what you mean by help. Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, we'll loan you a piece of equipment. Yeah. We'll give you some hops and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
That's all, but hey, I'm having this technical problem. Can you solve it? I don't know if they're going to give that information out.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
I can ask, because I plan on doing a tour soon, because I'm getting a little bit sick of being at home. So me and one other person who will be my cohort for the day.
I'll give you an example. We had a distillery approach us and said, I need some information on this process or something like that. Mm-hmm. And Bob, my boss, Bob said, well, I'm just not going to give you any information, because if I give you the information and it goes haywire, then
You
I'm
get-
an asshole.
Yeah.
And if I don't give you the information, I'm an asshole. So I can't win in this situation. So he said, I'm just staying quiet in it. But if you need to borrow some malt or something, I got no problem giving you that stuff.
Yeah.
But giving you a technical answer and then it not working, then now I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
But even distilling in our country, and we did this before. Oh, this for me? My wife's giving me this. I don't know if there's any alcohol.
There you go.
Wants me to sober up, possibly.
I think she's been in my fridge.
Drink.
Whiskey and bourbon.
Yeah, she's been in my
Hey,
fridge.
Dave. Oh, she did the same thing you did, Dave. I'm having your drink, buddy. Sorry. See, my wife's very nice to me. Okay. I'm going to give you guys some of this when you pick up your next tasting. If you're doing the tasting on Friday, I'll give you some of this because I want your opinion. It tastes like wet cardboard, but not in an entirely bad way.
Well, that's a bad fault in beer, cardboard.
It is. I know, but that's what I'm getting in this one.
Is it the umami that you're getting that we have trouble in North America defining? Because a lot of
Very well be. Yeah. Because in my cocktail, that's the flavor I was getting that was putting me on. That might very well be it. Okay, so when you try it, let's
Okay.
figure this out.
Either that or the bottle's corked.
No, it's not a corked smell. And I've made you try the corked Cavalan that I have. This is not really a corked thing. It's
You
just
got a cork Cavalan?
and it's a sherry Cavalan, and it's a $250 bottle, whichever. But I keep it. I didn't bring it back because I like giving people this and saying this is
Here, try this. Yeah.
And when you drink this bottle, you drink it, not just smell it. You drink it. You remember it for, I think, forever. I have.
I unfortunately had 3 corked bottles in my life, and the minute you try them, you know it.
Yeah, it's like it's off. It's off quick, and it's overpowering.
Yeah.
So where did we answer the question? Do we all believe that they're being very creative, or was
yep, creative.
I think so.
But I
Dave?
think every country outside of Scotland has the ability to try different things.
Yep.
Like we still do single malt, so
Mhm.
let's just focus on single malt. So 3 years in a barrel, all malt from a single distillery. After that, we can still play around.
Yes, and let's introduce something else to that. Let's talk about the different flavors for different whiskeys in different countries. Because when we were comparing Canadian whiskey to Scotch, we were not enjoying Canadian whiskey as much because we were comparing it. And we have to understand that there's a unique flavor to Canadian whiskey. And when you have that and you know that, and then when you have other Canadian whiskeys, you're comparing Canadian whiskey to Canadian whiskey. That's a hard thing to do for us when we started with Scotch. We've had Scotch for so long, and you think that's the way it should be. But then once you start appreciating a flavor, and I'm doing this with the States right now, so American whiskeys and American rye are different from Canadian rye, and to appreciate those on their own standards. So Dave, do you think that I'm just not appreciating what a Japanese whiskey should taste like, and I'm just thinking of it like we said, the Scotch snobs before, that I'm like just like that? Or is it actually a really bad bottle of whiskey, which you'll all find out soon anyways?
So
What do you think, Dave?
my thought here is we have access to a ton of Scotch.
Yeah.
So we've got we know good Scotch. We know mediocre. We know bad.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't figured out Japanese stuff yet, because I think what we get here is mainly the mass-produced stuff, and it's not.
Well, the blend stuff they're getting rid of, maybe.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in Alberta, we're not getting the stuff that they get in Ontario.
Mhm.
But I don't know if that's a bad thing, because if they're getting it in Ontario and BC, they're committing to, I don't know, Dave, you're good with these, like 12,000 cases type thing. Whereas in Alberta, we can bring in 60 cases of something.
We can bring in wherever we want. Our government, like the Alberta government, doesn't tell you how much you got to bring in.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Wisers and stuff like that. There's certain bottles that we don't get because we're not willing to buy a massive amount.
That's
Whereas
right.
Ontario and BC, for some reason, is able to do something like that.
Well,
whereas we
here's
don't.
the problem is if Wisers gets an order from the Ontario government, the Ontario government buys it, they got to sell it. If
Yeah.
Wisers come to Alberta,
They
the
have to
Alberta
sell.
government doesn't have to do anything. They don't care. Wisers has to sell it. So
I'm
now,
wondering if one of us can make money if we devote ourselves and just buy everything and then just start selling it to everyone else. Dave, how much money will you and I make if we stop our jobs? I stop being a teacher, you stop being a brand ambassador. We just buy 10,000 cases. We mortgage both of our houses. That'll never happen. My wife will she'll Lorena Bob at me.
I don't even think that'd be enough to start, though.
well, my fear buying mass-produced whiskey from let's use Wisers because I really like them, and you know, I'm not against Wisers at all. This is sitting here, and I'm looking to drink some of this.
Yeah.
But my fear is that they'll just Wisers 18's out again, and all that money we've invested just went to hell.
I'm going to give you another situation. I'll give everyone the same situation. Shelter Point, I got an email from them a week and a half ago. They've got barrels that, they're ordering barrels from Ardbeg, and those are coming in. They're going to put their new make spirit into Ardbeg, and they're going to hold on to it for 6 years. And at the end of it, they're going to charge us $10,000 plus a little bit extra. It was supposed to be around 12,000 at first. They emailed me back, said no, it's about 10,000.
It's 10,000 up
I'm
front.
getting 250
Right, not
bottles.
after. Yeah.
Now I can make a profit if I bought this and I sold them for $110 each, as opposed to the 65 that we're doing. I'm making a profit. I'm not doubling, but I'm going close. But that's over 6 years. Is that something that the small little schmo like me would ever think of doing? Does that make sense?
The problem there is you're taking a risk. Like, and I've got the email from the guy. I talked to him. And I said, okay, if I do this for 7 years, I'm going to get this many bottles. And he said, well, no, you're not getting that many. You're getting a few bottles left. And basically, it's going to be $45 a bottle, which is a great buy.
Yeah.
I said, well, how do I get it back to Edmonton? Well, you got to take care of that. Is it legal?
No. But you and I would take our vans and go put them in the vans and then take off. And one of us might get caught, but not both.
Well,
and then we'd make our money back if one of us still made our way back.
So,
do you think this? Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I'm just not willing to put $10,000 out and take that risk.
Yeah.
And I just think that there's people that need money, and they give you this opportunity to buy something. It's like, what is it, that guy with the hamburgers on Popeye? Oh, if you buy me a hamburger today, I'll give you something tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'd like to buy some just to check it out, but I'm not putting 10,000 up. I got no problem putting 1,000. So there's 5 of us here.
Yeah.
2,000 each.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a problem of whiskey and distilleries right now? So you have this huge push for craft distilling in reaction to all these big conglomerates. And then you have Japan, who basically got their sort of 1 and 2, and then you've got smaller ones, and they're relying more on that corporate money versus coming to the public for money.
Maybe.
Do you think this is a problem in how they're approaching marketing, how they're approaching trying to be sustainable, instead of saying, yeah, you know what, we've got an investor. They're asking the consumer to be an investor, and that changes how you drink it.
Well, does that take away from our enjoyment of everything else? Where all of a sudden we've got $10,000 worth of whiskey we own.
Yeah.
Am I going to go buy a Japanese whiskey? Am I going to go buy something from Denmark? Am I going to buy all this other stuff when all of a sudden I own all this whiskey?
Yeah.
And
a lot of whiskey to drink.
But we think we know a lot about it. We really do. We think we know what's good. If we have something, I'm pretty sure it's good if I think it's good. If it blows my mind, And when we had this Dr. Don last year, and we had our tasting, and we were the guinea pigs from them, there was 3 of them that I knew that we would love. And there's already 2 on the market now and 1 more coming out.
Yeah.
So if last year, Nick, you were there, right? For the JP
Yeah, but none of them came to Alberta. They were select releases.
That's what I'm saying. If the dark oak, you had a chance to buy 10,000 cases of dark oak for $25,000 at $25 each and bring it into Alberta. And we were sure that these dark oaks were really good, and I still am. And Davin thinks it's
we own some, so yeah,
the viral one for Canada.
We just got to get it here
Tuesday. So if that's the thing, would we have put $25,000 into this, knowing that we could sell each bottle for $60, $70 the year after? Are we the type of people to do that? Now, again, I'm a teacher and I don't have a whole bunch of money. And even if I did, my wife would say, whatever she would say, like, stop spending money.
Dolph, not again.
Well, no, that was her Christmas present, if you remember. What do you want for Christmas? Just stop spending money.
But that takes the enjoyment out of what we do in drinking whiskey. All of a sudden, you're transferring yourself into the position of being in the business.
Yeah.
Well, who wants the pressure of having to sell all that whiskey?
Yeah.
Like, that is just uncomfortable.
Well, at that point, you find somebody to sell it for you because we're not in the business. Right?
Yeah. And as much as I think I know what's good and what the public wants, I don't know. Anyways, I really don't know how we got on this subject. It's been an ongoing one for about 20 minutes, but it's an interesting subject. People can buy whiskey. So if there's anyone out there watching this, and we'll get 100 viewers within a week, and it's kind of stays there. If you want to spend money, you could buy a barrel and you could sell it. And if you guys remember, Jay Wheelock actually did this, and I didn't know he was doing it. He would buy barrels and he would sell those. And one of them was she's a female. The barrel had a picture of Alberta, Lake Louise or something on the front. Anyways,
I do remember that bottle. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. He bought this one bottle. He bought several. And same thing. He bought like a 21-year-old from someplace in Alberta. He was going to distribute that as well. But the name of this actress, she is a classic actress. When we think classic actresses, can you think of a name? A 1960s, 70s actress.
No. All I can think is Kim Crawford, but she's not classic. And
no, she's adorable. Yeah. But anyways, so he had this one bottle, and he was trying to sell it as well, but it didn't go off as well. And it was a 21-year-old, I think, and I had it for a while. And Vines actually put it out, and they were selling it at $8.75, something like that, 75, 80. Whereas he was trying to sell it at a higher price. And it was an independent bottler. It wasn't his name. It was another name, this female actress's name. It's a very well-known name, and I don't know why it's not coming to me. And someone like him in the business, who's been in the business for a while, invested and would make money sometimes. He also had another one, the infamous, if you remember, there was a bottle, had a metal thing on the front. He bought into that as well, and he made money off of that. But he was a brand ambassador, and when he went to tastings, he would promote it. And me, the first time I ever met him was at this tasting. Laura was there as well. We're at Wine and Beyond. He has this out, and then we drink it, and then we buy it. So I'm wondering.
See, I think we're crossing paths there. I don't want to be like, I work for Yukon Brewing and I tell everybody that, but I'm not buying a barrel and then doing it at a show somewhere and say, oh, hey, this is amazing stuff. And I've listened to other distillers hype their product. And I remember looking around at the table one day, I said, have I got something different in my glass than the rest of you guys? Because I don't get what this guy's selling. And so I don't want to be, I don't want to be playing both sides of this street on here.
Next question, Dave, would your boss even let you buy a barrel and bottle it yourself?
Yeah.
Excellent. So
I've
we
asked
should
the
talk
question.
about. I want to go back to Whiskey Japan, but I'm just going to say, Dave, I still want the barley wine we talked about. But if you ever got a bottle or a barrel of barley wine, I think you and I could sell the barley wine.
I just drink it.
Because the thing is, you believe in the product, and I think you could do it. But everybody that I just talked about in all those situations, we all believe in the product. So let's go back to Whiskey Japan.
Okay.
I can use that to get back to Whisky Japan.
Sure.
So this is not a new idea. We read about it in the book where distilleries bottle a cask for all these little bars all over the place, and people can go and buy that. So it's not a new idea. Why do we think in North America it's a new idea? Japan has been doing this since they started making whiskey. This is how they've been getting people to drink their whiskey.
I've never had that. I wonder why. Is it actually? I do know why. I don't go to whiskey bars, I think is the problem. Have you guys actually seen these types of things? Yes. I know in Dublin, there's the, what's the name of the big bar in Dublin? The oldest one in the world.
Trinity Bar?
And they have their own bottling, and they have Irish whiskey in there, and they've done really well that way. I don't know about a Japanese whiskey, though, that's done it. I think it's a great idea because no matter what bar I went to, if they make their own beer, I have the beer. If they would make their own whiskey, and Dom was saying this before, I said I would actually have it. And Dom said with his palate, he could tell if it was good or not, or if he would invest or think it was worthy of being showcased or something. Yep. I would still buy it. And I think no matter, let's say we're all bar owners and we had the opportunity to do the exact same thing. I think, and I hope we would all take that chance and trust in your taste buds, because we've been around whiskey for long enough that we know what we like. And just like when Dave brought me the samples for our own club, what to do, I was able to pick something that I thought was fantastic. I'm hoping all of us, if we're in that situation, would do the same thing. How about you guys? Would you do the same thing?
Actually, I'm going to turn that on you, Dolph. Do you think your taste buds are that good that you could pick something that you like? You haven't tasted all the whiskey in the world. Have you tasted Argentinian whiskey? Have you tasted South African whiskey? Tasmania?
Yes. But nothing from South America. I've tasted the other two. But I could tell you what I liked. And it's easy enough when you're dealing with 200 bottles, right? Because I know that with Dave's, and Dave came to me and I said, I want cask strength and I want peat. And I got the peat that's not distilled down. It's pure peat. It's all peat. It's the oldest that I can get my hands on. And it's single cask, although it's 2 casks, I think. I'm confident enough that I could sell 100 if I want. I'm sure I could promote that because people know me within this situation. How about you guys? Could you do it? Oh, no. Nick, go ahead.
But that's not the point.
So you ask, but I'm going to bring Don in.
But that's not the point. You've got a very selective profile. You've wanted cask strength and peat. If we're talking about Japanese whiskey, those elements aren't necessarily the forefront of the flavors. They're more subtle. They're more those salty umami, those tasty ones. So I challenge you that you couldn't pick a good whiskey then.
I could challenge you back that I could pick something that 100 bottles, I could sell 100 bottles. And I could be fairly sure that within our club of 60 people, I'm going to sell 100 bottles. And I'm okay with that. But could I pick something that I think would make me an astronomical amount of money? I don't think so. Because even though I've been drinking whiskey for a while and in here, I don't think I can. Dom, I'm going to introduce you into this conversation. And what's happening now is we're talking about distilleries offering a cask to either a bar or an organization, because the Alberta Scotch Society, which I'm the president, we have that opportunity sometimes to buy a cask and then sell it. And we're trying to determine if it's worthy monetarily to do it, because what we think we like? Is it something that a lot of people would like? And Dom, you've had this opportunity. So when you get a barrel, what are you thinking about in relation to selling it to other people?
Boy. So I think we touched on this in the conversation earlier. Oh, yes. By the way, hello again. Sorry it's taken me a while to get back. I've just managed to. I lied to you. I'm not a liar, but Leicester City have played tonight, and they were losing.
And how are they doing?
Half time, and they've just won 2-1 and gone second in the Premiership. All right. I'm not that excited, but I did lie to you because I've got a cold curry out there. But my son was in the next room watching the game, and I could see his reaction. So anyway,
Dom, family first in every case, buddy.
Leicester City first in everything. I think you'll find.
This is not a paid gig. You're allowed to come and go as you want.
And for our Canadian viewers, soccer, football is to the rest of the world what hockey is to Canada.
Yeah, Leicester City is second in the top division in the UK, which is amazing. But anyway, look, this is a no. Remind me where we are. We're talking about
Dom. If you have a barrel in front of you and you're offered to buy this barrel for £4,000, and which equates to roughly £30 a bottle, but you know you can sell it for 60. Do you have enough faith in yourself to buy that? And do you have the money to do it? And you're going to make a profit.
Yeah, it's not that simple. Oh, my dog's just turned up. It's not that simple.
Okay.
So, Whisky Quarterly, the magazine that I gave up a year ago to the day, actually, I got a Facebook message yesterday to say, oh.
So I didn't mean to change the point of view.
Yeah. My dog's trying to climb up and drink my whiskey, by the looks of it. Hello.
Your dog what?
Sorry. Sorry, panel. I did it. I brought the puppy up, and so I'm going to see a cat right away. I'm pretty sure a black cat going behind Nick's head.
No, they're sleeping.
Okay.
Underneath Cheryl.
Yep.
I'm surprised he was snoring.
We got you say it now. He's next to me. Do you want to come here? We call him Milo, but he should be called Ringo because he looks like a beetle. Anyway, no, this is a serious thing. Whisky Quarterly was owned by a company in Poland that sells casks. And the problem with casks are, one, you buy the cask, that's your cask. Yes. So whatever happens in the many years you're maturing your whiskey is not in your control.
Okay.
And you have no choice at the end of it. It's yours and you have to sell it. That's the first problem. Second problem is that in the UK, the tax, tax you have to pay to bottle it, take it out of bond, doubles the price. And three, then you have, 350 bottles, whatever it is, you have to sell it.
Yes.
And you have to do that yourself. So I've always been very critical of the cask purchasing thing, except if you can taste samples in advance and know enough about the whiskey to know that you want it in a sherry cask or a port cask or an ex-bourbon cask or whatever, and you can monitor it and decide when you want to release it, because it's possible that in Canada or Australia or anywhere, after 7 years, it tastes good enough for you to think, I want to put that in the bottle, and you can take it out. A lot of distilleries or a lot of companies charge after 10 years or whatever it is to keep it in bond, in store. So I personally, I'd love to do it. I actually, years and years ago, probably, oh my God, 15 years ago,
Okay.
I filled a cask at okay, I'm going to test you guys. It's a distillery that has a Glasgow link. It's north of Glasgow, and it's on the boundaries of the Highlands and the Lowlands.
Deanston?
Glengoyne.
Glengoyne? I'm saying Deanston.
Glengoyne. Yeah.
Nick!
Woo! Glengoyne, yeah.
Nick for the win.
Well, I think you all three said it. I think you all said it.
Nick
They
said
did too.
Glengoyne. I said Deanston.
Yeah. You said Deanston, but the rest of the people knew more than you, and they got it right.
I wasn't paying attention.
Glengoyne's unusual because it's on the line, so the warehouses are maturing across the road, and it's in, I can't remember which way round it is, but anyway, I filled a cask and it was great. We went there, we had a press trip with, but the other people there were people who bought the cask.
Yeah.
And I tried to put it in my name rather than Whisky Magazine's name.
Okay.
So that I could, and I got a cask ownership certificate, and you get invited back to come back and taste it each year.
Every year, yeah.
And when it came to maturity, and I went to Glengoyne and said about this, they said, no, we've got problems on Whisky Magazine claims ownership, and they were right. So I never got it. But the guy who's the master distiller, was the master distiller, I'm a bit out of touch. His name's Billy something. He's Geordie. It's from the north of England. And he, we had a press trip up to Glengoyne. There were maybe 20 of us there. And he said, oh, we've got a sample of Dominic's whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
It was 5 years old now. And he said, we've got a sample for you to taste.
But it's Dominic's whiskey, not Whiskey Advocate.
Sorry?
It's Dominic's whiskey, not Whiskey Advocate. It's your whiskey.
No, it was, I was employed by Whisky Magazine. Not Whisky Advocate, Whisky Magazine. Whisky Magazine said that because I was the editor of Whisky Magazine, they owned it.
Okay.
They probably would have won it in court if I fought it, but I didn't. But anyway, Billy said, we'll let everyone sample the whiskey and Dominic can describe it. So I got the whiskey and I tasted it. It was completely smoky, peaty.
Okay.
Glengoyne's big advert is real whiskey doesn't have peat in it.
Yeah.
So I'm in front of 19 of my most senior people. I've got a choice. Do I tell the truth and say, I don't get this. This is not what I would expect.
I don't understand.
Or do I lie and keep my hosts happy? And so I went, well, it's not what I expected. And at that point, Billy said, that's because it's Kalila 12-year-old.
Nice.
Okay, good.
What a rotten thing to do. What a rotten thing to do. I've never got over it. I'm still in shock.
Perfect way to test you.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
So still back to the question, we said, would you actually do and you're saying no, there's too much risk involved.
Yeah.
Really.
Bottom line is very fundamental. If you're a big distiller, are you going to let?
Yeah. Kalila.
That's Kalila.
Yeah.
Kalila's okay because Kalila is peated whiskey normally.
Mm-hmm.
And at young ages, peat covers a lot of sins. So it's not bad. But the problem you've got is no distiller. It's like. Oh, you know what? I'm very close to giving you a Canadian metaphor, but I can't think of his second name.
Oh yeah.
You know your ice hockey player, Wayne
Gretzky.
Yeah. It's like me saying, I've got Wayne Gretzky here. I'm going to give it to you for a very reasonable price. You're not. You're going to sell your shit players. You're going to sell your ice hockey players who can't put the ball anywhere near the the net. You're not going to give away Wayne Gretzky for a rubbish fee. I think I've done pretty well there, to give you an analogy. But that's how it is with Scottish distillers. They're not going to give you their best whiskey, are they? They're going to put their best whiskey into their bottles and make money. So what you're going to buy is something, and it's new make spirit, but they'll know from the early bottlings whether that peat level is right or whatever it is. So I wouldn't do it. I if I won £1 million, and I decided to spend it all in whiskey, I'd buy whiskey, but I wouldn't buy a cask.
Okay. I'd like to talk about this more in detail with you in a bit, because I find this a fantastic, but I want to bring it back to your book. I want to bring it back here before we're done. And
we don't meant to. I'm happy, Dolph. I'm happy to do this. Do you know everyone else? Do you know that I know two Dolphs?
Yes, I do, because he sent me an email.
Yeah, you know. They know
that it was me. And I responded saying, I don't think this is who you
No, but do they know? Do the rest of your guests know?
No, this was the first time. And actually my wife the first time too, because I don't talk to my wife ever. She has no idea. Kidding. She knows just about everything I do. But my son, his name's Dolph Jr. And I've known maybe two other Dolphs somewhere. And when you emailed me thinking that I was the Dolph that owned the 7 Sails?
7 Sails, yeah.
That it was very confusing. But I'm coming back to this. This is my favorite question. Okay, I've been waiting for this question, Dom, and I want to know the answer, because I wasn't quite sure. And often I think I know the answer before I ask you, but this is one I'm not sure. So Dom, you present Tori and Takasuru's history, Suntory and Nikka's history, at the onset of your whole chapter called The History of Japanese Whiskey. Did you get the sense when you were researching this book that each one of them are really trying to have a claim as the very start of Japanese whiskey? So to have Tori or Takasuru, as the father of Japanese whiskey, because it really seems when I'm reading this that both are really trying to be the first, the essential, the best. And is that the sense you got when you were researching this?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay.
That's a crazy answer. I think we have to look at, I know we shouldn't generalize. I know we shouldn't make sweeping general statements that border on racist.
Yeah.
But I lived in New Zealand. I've got New Zealand citizenship, and I lived in New Zealand for 4 years. And when the Japanese came on holiday, they'd have a little flag, and they'd follow it. And everyone went to the same places every night, every day, same tour, and they came on holiday as companies. They didn't come as individuals. They came as companies. Who you work for is who you went on holiday for. So the Japanese, more than any other race I know on the planet, you can more generalize than anyone else. And the Japanese are loyal to their companies to the point of excluding. So they don't care about journalism. They don't want to tell. Nikka doesn't want to tell me about Suntory or about what they're doing, so Suntory knows. They're just not interested. So without a doubt, those companies want to be seen as the most powerful and exclusive and top companies in the country. And that means, do you take John the Baptist, which was Suntory, or Jesus? No, that's wrong, because actually Suntory was bigger. But the point I'm making is, when Nikka went off and set up, they claimed they took the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And that they created Japanese whiskey. But Suntory would never, ever. I mean, Suntory still own, I might be wrong on this, but in my mind, there's a figure around 72% Suntory and 12 to 18% Nika, and then others. So Suntory is massively more important.
Than Nika.
Massively more important.
Okay.
But Nika desperately need to claim the credibility because they took it to the next step. The other thing I'd like just quickly to say while we talk about it, you were talking, I think I overheard you talking about the perfume notes and the umami notes.
Umami. Yep.
Yeah. One of the most interesting things, and one of our people here tonight has had a Yamazaki 18. So
That's Nick.
Yeah.
All gone.
Lucky you. So I'm talking from history, but I seem to remember that one of the most amazing things from my whiskey group 15 to 20 years ago was how that when the Japanese did peated whiskey,
Yep.
was incredibly peaty. And when they did sherry bombs, they were incredibly cask-strength sherry bomb. And there was nothing subtle. It was like watching two sumo wrestlers, these big, great big, weighty. So what you're talking about is true, the nuance and the subtlety, but actually some of their most iconic whiskies were just, they were, the Metallica or the Motorhead or the Iron Maiden of whiskies.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue this off air because this is a great conversation. We're going to have a lot of fun over the next time after we're done. But we've hit the hour and 6 minutes. So that's all the time we have left today, Whiskeys and brothers and sisters. It's been a fantastic afternoon for us and an evening for Dom. Thanks to our listeners. Thanks to the panel right here. Thanks to Cheryl, Dave, Kent, Nick. It's been an absolute pleasure spending this time with you. Special thanks to Dom for the first part and coming into the second part. And I don't have much to cheers with, but let's try with something. I got a little bit here. Here's Point Company. All these cats here. Here's the good whiskey. That right there. Here's the good books. I'll give everyone a chance to get theirs up there. That one right there. And here's the good conversation, which we've had in abundance today. And here's to seeing you all next week, Saturday, March 13th, 2021 at 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 8 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time for our Whiskey Book Club's 9th book review and the 3rd edition of Whisky Japan, the essential guide to the world's most exotic whiskey, with author Dominic Roskrow.
Oh, I'm back next week. Oh, great.
Don't want to miss a minute. Click like, subscribe, and beyond that, everyone have a fantastic Saturday afternoon, or if you're in England or anywhere else in the world, and we'll see you next week. Ciao, everybody. Have a fantastic